Hello and welcome to another episode in the Ayres podcast. I'm Matt, this is Jack, and we're going to be yet again doing another podcast today, but hopefully we're going to refine it a little bit and kind of condense it down because we realised the last couple have gone on a little bit longer than we wanted to, and what we want to try and do this time is make it a little bit more snappy, a little bit more entertaining for the people at home. I've taken all your suggestions that I've seen so far, so if I have, I try and reply to everyone in the YouTube comments. If I haven't replied to you, please know that I have noted it down on a notepad somewhere, and those are all ideas that we're going to use in the future. I've left the window open, so that's
okay, great start.
Cracking start there. Got to close that window. Sirens are on our end, and
we're in the ghetto.
We're in the ghetto right now. So yeah, we're going to refine the podcast completely condense it down and hopefully make it a bit snappier. All your suggestions are going down. We know kind of what we want to do. Today we're going to be talking about dream podcast guests. We've got the U2 spoiler cast. Not U2 the band, but U season 2.
Oh yeah,
obviously
it threw me off there.
And Sony not going to E3. We're going to be talking about all about that in this podcast.
And finally, we're both in 100% condition.
Yes,
so...
Jack is not ill or drunk, which is great.
Yeah, I'd say I want to say I wasn't drunk, but I could have been drunk.
You could quite clearly have still been drunk.
Either,
I think it was
either extremely hungover or
still drunk.
Yeah. So
I coughed earlier, and I was like, "No,
Christ,
don't do this. Don't do this."
It's that time of year, isn't it, where just everything, your body's just, I guess.
It's
weak,
just done.
I guess.
Yeah. I mean, actually, that's
so cold here. It's just fucking shit.
talking about like our bodies and stuff. So I try and advertise our clips on Reddit.
Yeah.
So I find Reddits that I think will be interested in our like content and post it up there just to try and get a few more people maybe involved in the conversation. And I posted one up on a PlayStation 5 Reddit about the PlayStation versus Xbox and kind of the battle that's going on there. I got ripped to shreds. They were like, "Your thumbnails are crap, look at your fugly face."
Ah, cheers, bro.
Who's the fat guy? Is that you or is that your mate? And it's like, oh my god, wow, leave it out. So
keep the positive comments.
Keep the positive. I want you to tell me how good I look. That'd be grand because my charisma, self-esteem is down here because Reddit just ruined.
Anyway, I know that we talked about having really long intros, so let's continue the intro.
Let's continue the actual podcast. Right,
anyway.
We start off with sport, and we're going to talk about Saracens and the overplaying of players. We were going to do a transfer chat, but frankly, nobody cares about Victor Moses going to Inter Milan. So
no, I mean, we're going to sign Bentaleb, so that's kind of as far as it goes.
That's grand. So we're going to pass that off for a week and maybe do that in the next podcast.
We'll do a review next time. Sure.
But let's talk about this kind of overpaying of players. Now, you know a bit more about this than I do. I essentially know they've been fined for overplaying players. You've got more of the breaking news.
I mean, obviously with football, wages and I know they got the fair play thing in, but who actually enforces it?
No, they just miss a transfer and then come back in January and try and buy players again at Chelsea.
Exactly. So, football is obviously a bit loose when it comes to that. So rugby, I'm not a massive rugby fan. I would watch it when it's on and all that sort of thing, but they're very sort of strict with their ruling, which is wage cap and. But I don't even. Do they have? I guess they have transfer fees. Surely.
No, there's definitely transfer fees.
I don't know whether they cap that as well. Don't know.
I don't really know.
But it's the wages that's the big thing, and I'm pretty sure it was Owen Farrell, is it Farrell?
Yeah.
The fly half for England. I think he was either 2 or 3 times over the limit or something. It was something extreme like that.
That is mental. And
you sort of think these players are probably getting 150 grand a year, maybe.
Yeah. They don't get paid the same as footballers, let's put it that way.
I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
So you think, for someone to be on a much higher wage in their world, I guess, is a massive thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we talk about football players who get 200 grand a week or 150 grand a week, it's kind of alright, not a lot.
Yeah.
But so initially they got fined I think 5 million.
Right.
And then docked 35 points, which I would assume there's probably 15 to 20 teams in a league.
Yeah,
probably get like 3, 4, 5 points in a game.
Yeah.
So you're probably thinking, okay, so maximum they're going to get is say 60 to 100 points or something. So 35 is quite a big deal.
Yeah, that's basically half your season.
Yeah.
Gone.
But so, and I mean, for a team like them, that's maybe not the end of the world because, they will get a lot of points. And they probably won the league by 20 points last year. So, anyway, basically just before us recording now, I've just looked and it's actually 70 points. So,
Crikey.
I'm going to assume that either that means they'll be relegated next year, or
they are
already relegated. So it's
because they're only going to earn enough points really to get even.
Pretty much, and you'd like to think that if it's, I don't know if it's the bottom 1, bottom 2, bottom 3 that go down.
Yeah.
Probably 2, I'd guess.
Yeah, probably 2.
Yeah, I don't see 2 team. Maybe. I don't see 2 teams getting less than like 20, 30 points.
No, because if you had that in the Premier League, for
100,
example, if you had that in the Premier League and say, Man City won the title with 100 points.
Yeah.
If they had 70 points taken away from them, they'd be on 30.
They'd be struggling.
They'd be struggling to stay up. I think, I can't remember if that season it was around the 30 mark where your points were, if you were any lower than that, you're in a proper relegation battle.
Well, I think, was it Derby had the lowest figure ever in the Premier League with 8.
Yeah, something like that.
So you sort of think, you add 70 to that, that's 78. That's still a lot of points.
Yeah,
that would win you a lot of titles in some years. Obviously, Man City and Liverpool a little bit mental in the past couple of years, but 70 points.
Well, that's the difference between Champions League football or Championship.
Yeah.
No.
So
that is a massive difference.
Like for me, I don't mind it because it's just setting a precedent. It's like, right, okay, these are the rules. Don't break them. If you do, see you later.
It's kind of making what you call it? Making an example out of someone. Yes, they made an example out of Saracens, and we're not going to go massively into the detail of that just because we're not massive rugby fans. But
we just don't know enough about it, really.
Yeah, but what we're going to say is, with their wage cap, do we think that should be adopted into football? Or my argument would be, are we a bit too late for that to be adopted in now?
Well, one format that I like is NFL, where it's very much these are your best homegrown. I mean, it's different because football is very much multinationalized, whereas American football is very much America. So I know that it's different, but I like the format of these are your best ranked rookies for this year from these college schools.
Yeah.
You get the first pick because you're the worst team.
Mm-hmm.
The next year, another team will get, and it's the tactical training of.
So do those players then need to go to that team? If a team picks them, do they have to go to them?
I believe so, but
Crazy.
let's be honest. If you've got a draft of, say, 100 players in the whole country for that year, are you going to turn down an NFL team?
No.
If you're one of 100, if
you've been picked, you're going to go, aren't you?
Say, how many schools are they going to have? Like
50.
Well, no. You think they got 50 states? So you've probably got, I don't know, 3.
Is this like big colleges?
Yeah. You think they'd have a couple in each state, maybe?
Yeah.
Especially larger states.
Yeah.
Okay, so say there's 100 schools, 100 people, 10,000 people in a year, and you're one of 100.
Yeah, that's mental.
Kind of.
You'd probably, I know if that situation came around, you would snap up that opportunity. But like my brain instantly goes, "What? I'd have to travel across. I'd have to move across America on my own to go and play for this football team."
Yeah, but then you think, say, Mbappe for PSG, or Kante, or these big players who have made massive
moves at the age of 18, 19. Yeah.
I think even I remember watching True Geordie's podcast on Shearer, and I'm pretty sure he moved to Southampton when he was like 13, 14.
Yeah. Because they all lived in like a little...
Because they obviously lived in Newcastle.
Village, didn't they?
But like, yeah, you sort of think, well, that's a sacrifice you've got to make. So
yeah.
But I mean, that's the format that I like. I don't know. Can you implement a wage? Is it too far gone now?
I would say it's too far gone. I mean, I've got a video coming out in the next like week or so where I talk about what I think is going to happen in football over the next 10 years.
Right. Okay.
And one of my predictions is a wage prediction.
Yeah.
I think we're too far gone to go. Footballers can only earn £500,000 a week as a maximum, because I think it's gone past that already. And I think even if we were going to put a wage cap in, it would have to be a lot less than £500,000 for it to even be worth doing. And then these players aren't going to want to do that. They'll all vote against it.
Yeah.
It just won't get enforced at all.
No.
And they'll find ways of getting around it. So where they've got sponsorship deals and stuff.
Let's future-proof it then. Let's go, right, okay, we see that 10 years ago it was 20k a week was the highest earner.
Yeah.
Whatever it
was.
Now it's, say, Messi or Ronaldo at 500 grand a week.
Yeah.
Do we now go, right, okay, from this point now, no one will ever earn more than this amount? At least you then future-proof it.
That's a good point. I think they could potentially do that. Whether footballers would want to do that, and whether, as I said, they would find ways around it. So it'd be like, okay, I earn 500 grand a week, but I'm also sponsored by Liverpool.
Oh yeah.
And I wear their branded clothing when I'm not at training, or something like that, to get them to
be honest,
pay them more.
I mean, I know that they probably avoid tax somehow, but in a legal sense, if people are paying the right tax, surely it's better for our country for them to earn more. Because then they pay more tax.
Yes.
I know that they're probably not going to.
But then, no, they have... Well, this is going to sound very Boris, but especially the foreign footballers, what they'll do is they'll earn money and they'll send it... I'm not racist. And they'll send it to like families and stuff. So it might be that if I am Mbappe playing for Arsenal, I'm getting paid, but really half my wages are going to my dad, who lives back in France.
I'm pretty sure Mane has like a broken iPhone or something, and I've seen something online, and it was like he sends like a massive percentage of his wage back to Senegal.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. He seems like the kind of guy that would do that.
But but I mean, I feel like there should be a wage cap. But there
should be, because no, they're not, because the problem we've got
also say if owners want to spend their money, and because that's how they get the big players.
Yeah, you've got to pay them to attract them, haven't you? It's like Zlatan when he came to United. That's probably only because he was getting a pretty packet.
Yeah.
Ronaldo to Juventus. Did he really need to go to Juventus? Were they winning the Champions League anytime soon?
They might do now that
he's there. They might do now he's there, but probably weren't really guaranteed. Italian league, is it the best league in the world? No. Did he just get paid a pretty packet? Probably.
The Serie, like, just very quickly, Serie A and La Liga are kind of similar. You've got 3, 4, 5, 4 big teams in each, and then they get in the Champions League, and that's it.
Yeah.
France, you've got like 2 teams. England, at least you've got 6, 7, 8 teams that are...
I mean, there's even more than that now. Like, Burnley are beating United 2-0.
Yeah, but
I mean, United aren't great at the moment.
Man United aren't a top 6 team.
Yeah, you're right. But like, you know, you could
in the Premier like to see you argue with that.
Well, Ollie's at the wheel.
No.
So, yeah, I think it would be good to see a wage cap.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think it could be enforced, unless they did future-proof it, in which case they could try and keep it at what already is an audacious amount of money.
Yeah. A lot of it is obviously driven by TV rights and stuff, so whether they can, I don't know, cap that. But then I was about how far do you go? I don't know. The money's mental. And
okay, so here's the reason it won't work. The people that make this decision are at the top.
they get paid.
They're getting paid by the people
to do
this. They are never going to go, you can't give me that much money.
Yeah.
Stand off. Give me a little less and you still get what you wanted.
No, I don't want my Cayman Islands bank
exactly.
thousands and millions of dollars.
So I don't see that ever happening, unfortunately.
No, but is it the same in cricket as well?
I don't even think cricketers get paid, do they? They just get the lunch.
They don't get a lot.
They just get lunch halfway through. I thought that was the same.
Must be on he's probably sponsored massively.
Flintoff's probably the one that's earned the most ever.
Probably got that from League of Their Own.
You got it from Sky.
Yeah.
Essentially. But he did a lot of like books and stuff like that, and he was quite a popular face. I'm
just trying to compare it to other sports, but then really...
I mean, F1.
Football's
an audacious amount of money.
Yeah, Lewis is probably on like $750,000 a week. But then golf, you got to earn it.
Yeah, golf, you got to win.
Yeah.
So like there was
like tennis as well. You got
there was a discussion on something that I saw the other day where it was like, I can't believe golfers earn £1 million for winning one tournament.
Yeah, it's like
but that tournament is once a year. They get one shot at earning that wage once a year.
And I'm not being funny. If you can play 4 rounds of golf on impossible courses and get a score of -20, I think you deserve to get £1 million.
You're pretty decent.
If anyone could do it, everyone would do it.
True.
So,
they're special to be able
golf
to do.
Especially, I think is fair enough because, it's a very difficult sport to be consistent over 4 rounds. You've got to take 240 shots
and get them all right.
Yeah,
which is mental.
I would take 240 and get like
5 right.
Yeah.
But talking about, so we don't think the wage cap will happen. But talking about things that might not happen, 007, we're moving on to entertainment by the way.
That was smooth.
Wasn't it?
Like 007.
I was thinking that. I was thinking it over and over.
I reckon you should do a walk and just for the camera. I reckon? Got it in ya?
So...
No.
So...
Rush over.
Let's just move on. I'm not going to do that now because I'm too big and I get annoyed, but the Reddit people will destroy me. Anyway.
Reddit people.
The Reddit people.
The
Reddit people are coming for me. So, 007 can only be a man, apparently. This was from the writers of the books, or was it the directors of the film, or something like that?
I've just seen it in the news.
Yeah,
Must have been, a week ago?
Yeah, it was like one of the creators has basically said that 007 could never be a woman.
Yeah.
However, she did say, like, we are open to doing, like, a spin-off where it's maybe not 007, but it might be 008 or 009 or Secret Agent 9 or something that could be a woman. But 007 can't be.
My first initial thoughts is, look at, say, Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a very different story, but...
Bit different. Daleks attacking 007 didn't quite happen.
Would you ever do a spin-off of the Doctor's assistant?
No, because it'd be really boring.
So why would you do a spin-off of 007?
Because it would still be a secret agent. So it's not a spin-off, is it? It's not like it's 00... It's not like it's a Bond girl's film. Because a Bond girl is essentially there to be James Bond's love interest and probably have some connection to the villain.
Yeah.
Whereas a spin-off being like, I don't know, Agent 9, let's call her. Agent 9 is within the Secret Service.
Right.
Is like, she is 007, but she's female and she does other missions. It would be the same, but she would not be 007.
Okay, so in that sense then, for argument's sake, you've got the Doctor who's like full Martian, whatever he is, I don't know.
Yeah.
If you had someone who was like half Martian, half human, and they had their own series, that would be shit.
Okay, I don't think the Doctor Who metaphor is the best one to go down.
But it's the only one I could think of at the moment.
But, okay, let's think like, if you did Prison Break, but it was a female escaping a female prison, I think that would still work.
I mean...
Could still work.
If it was done for the first time, yes, but I think the element of Prison Break is the fact that you don't know how he gets out, which is why it's good. Yeah. If you then watch it again, it's alright.
But then 007, they've managed to get, how many films? 15, more than that. How many films have they done? fucking loads.
Yeah.
So for them to do another one...
I would say, obviously, you got different missions and stuff and different enemies, but then I suppose with Prison Break, they just have different prisons.
Prison, different way of getting out.
So...
And, you know, it's a male doctor that they use to get out instead of a female one.
Yeah.
But like, I think that they could do a spin-off to 007, which is Agent 9 or whatever it might be. And I think it would be decent. But then...
I like the idea of it, I just don't think it'll work. But
then I think about Ocean's 11. And didn't they do a female version?
Ocean's 8, something.
Or something like that. And it just didn't really click.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
To be honest, Ocean's 11 was sick.
Yeah.
Ocean's 12, I think, was pretty good. Ocean's 13 didn't. It was kind of like, yeah, all right.
I think I got bored after 12.
Yeah, you've got all the water out. Just stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think. I don't know. I just feel for me, not that it's it's absolutely nothing to do with capability or anything like that. I just don't think. And right, okay. The whole point of James Bond, right, is the fact that he's a super agent. He kills a load of people.
Seduces lots of
women. Could do that, fine. They
Yeah.
could, 100%. James Bond obviously gets the girl, gets the information, blah blah blah. If a woman was to hit on a man, get information, would you not think, right, okay, people's general idea would be right, she's a slag. Do you know what I mean?
But there is people in TV series and films that do that. So as soon as you said that, I went straight to... I've forgotten the name of the woman in the TV series, but I went straight to Suits. And there's a female character, blonde hair, in Suits, who does go around, seduces blokes, gets information. That is what she does.
Yeah.
I mean, even Donna in Suits, to an extent, does that. And it works. And she's not a slut.
I think my point is more, James Bond is likely to sleep with the women. Whereas if you were to have a super agent that went round and slept with loads of different blokes, the actual third person view on that is going to be a lot different.
Not get in there, Bond. Nicely done.
It would be like,
and I think a bloke walking out of the water in his speedos isn't going to be as fun.
It's completely normal for both genders to sort of do whatever they want. And
you're coming across very sexist right now. Go on, keep digging.
Oh no, how? Because if a woman wants to do,
I want my Bond. My Bond's got to be a man, and he's got to shag women.
I'm just saying that's what.
You can't be gay either.
That's what his whole character's about, though, isn't it?
It is. It is the presence of that.
I just don't think it'll work.
And the fact that regardless of which actor it is,
involved, I don't think it'll work.
Regardless of which actor it is, they're always called James Bond. And you couldn't have Janine Bond coming in.
I mean, that'd just be weird.
It'd have to be a spin-off, and if it was, I think I'd enjoy it.
On the subject of not being a man, flip it the other way. There's obviously been a lot of talk about Idris Elba being potentially James Bond.
Yeah, and the fact he's black, which makes no sense. But go on.
No, so my point. My question was going to be, obviously, that's a change from your stereotypical James Bond. You know, it's basically white male.
I want to make this clear. I said it makes no sense. That is because it makes no sense for him not to be allowed to be it. Not that Idris Elba shouldn't be it because he's black. I want to make that very clear because I realised I just heard that again in my head.
It's a bit like, okay, so you can't be a woman. Well, you can, but I generally just don't think it'll work as well.
No, that's fine.
But you can be a different colour or a different race.
Yeah, of course you can.
But it's like...
It's the character,
it shouldn't make any difference, but yet one does and one doesn't.
It is the character that is James Bond, and because he is a certain character with a certain description, I think he could be black. Idris Elba would do a great job. There's other black actors out there that would do a great job as well. The guy that is in Star Wars...
John Boyega.
Yeah, I think in...
Or Boyega, whatever.
Yeah, I think in 10, 20 years' time, I could see him doing Bond.
Yeah.
And I could see him doing it very well.
Maybe not even that long.
I mean,
to be fair,
I would love to see Will Smith because I'm not a massive Bond fan, but I'd just like to see Will Smith in that role would be quite funny. But I think we're maybe past that time.
Yeah, I think Will Smith's probably not that. Again, Idris Elba is sort of that kind of serious, smooth talking, and that's basically Bond.
Bond, yeah.
You could look at Idris Elba and go, right, okay, yeah, 500 women in a queue. That's basically what James Bond is, essentially.
Yeah. So I think that, like, again, the race doesn't matter. For me, personally, the gender doesn't matter. If they were to do another agent in the Bond world, I'd be quite happy to watch that.
I would probably watch it because I'd be interested to see how they done it and all that. But I just don't feel that it would be as successful as...
What was the comedy film? It's quite a big woman.
Melissa McCarthy.
And she's playing a secret agent. I've forgotten the name of the film.
And that's with Sandra Bullock as well, I think.
Potentially.
Sandra Bullock?
And
I don't know what the name of it is.
It is a bloody good film. That's all that's coming to my head. It's a really good film, and but that was comedy, and that's because she's really good at comedy.
Sandra Bullock, it is Ocean's 8 because she was in that as well.
But what's this?
So if I go Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy.
That film in particular, just
The Heat.
The Heat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
FBI agent.
Yeah.
I've not seen it.
Maybe it's The Heat. I don't know. I feel like I haven't seen The Heat. But anyway, whatever I'm thinking of is a really
completely different.
Someone in it is.
It's not
actually Cinderella.
It's not got either of them in it either.
It might not be Melissa McCarthy. It might be someone else. But if you know what I'm thinking about, put it in the comments.
Is it that Australian woman?
It might be.
About?
It could be anyone at this point. Yeah. Isn't she in like Pitch Perfect or something? Or am I making that?
I think
so. Is it? Right, anyway, we're going to move on because otherwise someone in the comments is going to put that down there and make me look like a genius. But until they do, we're going to go on to people that aren't geniuses at all because they're sexual predators.
Yeah.
That wasn't as good a link as the first time, but
no, I was going to say
Weinstein, who's come under a lot of
I mean, there's been a lot of sexual predators over, I guess over the past, say, 40, 50, but obviously there's a bit like, what I mean is, the news has come to light in the past, say, 5-10 years?
Yeah.
About all these people that have done it.
Yeah, and there's a long list.
I've got no real foothold on who's worse than who.
Well,
who's been worse than.
So my opinion on that comment alone is all of them are equally as bad as each other because the first time you do it is just as bad as the 100th time you've done it.
Yeah, kind of agree with that. Yes, they're horrendous either way.
Some of them have just got away with it.
They are completely disgusting. But my point is, if you're Weinstein, who is abusing their power for young actresses to get into a film, that is completely different than Jimmy Savile or Gary Glitter, who are literally like
being predators
on very young boys and girls.
Yeah, and those weren't even people.
I would personally say that is worse than saying to someone, right, here's the film, but you've got to sleep with me. I
wouldn't say that's worse. I'd say that's even worse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Like,
I'm not. Yeah.
Okay,
so right, they're both bad, but this is even worse. It's
so,
kind of what.
One question I've got for you around this Weinstein fella is obviously all these allegations come out and they've become back into the press recently because the court case has started.
It's not just a random.
It's not a random topic. It's come back into the news recently because his court case has started and actresses, young and old, are now coming to the frame.
There's a Sopranos actress that's come out.
Yeah,
as the latest.
They're all kind of in court now. There's a lot of quite famous ones actually when I did a bit of research into it. But what I wanted to ask you was this. Knowing what he's done, does it make you like or dislike, not like, it would never make you like, does it make you dislike his films because of what's happened? So
if you were to say to me, here's a film that's really good, but he directed it or produced it, whatever, would you still watch it? Is your question?
Yeah.
Right. The answer should be. I guess the answer should be.
There's one good answer
no.
to this, and I'll give you that in a minute. Go on.
The answer should be no.
Right.
However, you think like the allegations against Kevin Spacey, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're true. I assume that they are. I don't know. But when I watched House of Cards, before I knew about these allegations,
yeah,
it was it's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really enjoyed it. You then hear about it. I then watched it and I was a bit like, yeah, this is still good, but I just feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If I was given the choice knowing, I would be like, well, I would probably look into it and say, right, how good is it? Is it actually worth? Because if it's like the best film in history, would you not watch it just because of one person?
Okay, do you like Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I guess. But then I watched that before. Was he involved in that?
Yeah.
Right, so I watched that.
I mean,
years ago.
I've been telling people Lord of the Rings are shit for like years before this even started, so...
Of course you have.
I hate Lord of the Rings, mate. It's so fucking boring.
To be fair...
Goes on far too long.
I watched it
when
it first came out,
Mm-hmm.
or like...
Around the
couple,
time.
Yeah. When I would have been... Well, the first one was 2002, 3?
Yeah.
So it would have been 7. So probably would have watched it when I was like 10, 11.
Yeah.
And like watched them all. Thing is, that's a different film because they're kind like it's like Star Wars. I'm not a massive Star Wars fan, but I feel like I would watch them because they're just one of those films that you kind of have to watch.
Yeah. So like other ones I've got Kill Bill.
See, I think I've only seen that brief.
I mean, I've seen that once a long time ago.
But
Inglourious Bastards was average. But like Silver Lining Playbook, Goodwill,
Django Unchained, that's an unreal film.
Django Unchained, like for older generations, Goodwill Hunting.
I would probably watch Django again.
Yeah. So I've got an answer to this. Like Scream, you've got King's Speech.
What was your correct answer?
Silver Linings Playbook.
What was your correct answer?
So my correct answer is this. Now I've got a little bit of a history with this topic. Not in the sense that I'm a sexual predator, but in the sense that I have enjoyed an art form that is...
Where are you going with this?
Enjoyed an art form.
Oh my god. Right, finish your sentence before you're absolutely
cancelled
for life.
Enjoyed an art form which was then ruined because the person who created it came out to be something that you would not agree with. So
right.
I was at Reading...
I'm so happy you finished that.
I was at...
Christ alive.
I was at Reading Festival, and the last band that I went to see were... This is my first ever Reading. Yeah. I've been to like 3, 4 now. But the first one I ever went to, last band I went to see, the last song played was called Last Train Home. It was... at the time, came home, and it's all I was talking about. I was like, that was the best moment in my life, musically. Was brilliant. That band were called Lost Prophets, and the lead singer 2 weeks later came out to be a paedophile.
Yeah.
And then instantly, I could not listen to that music anymore.
Band?
They were the Welsh band, yeah. Stand on the rooftops, everybody screaming.
Yeah, what's like the biggest? Is that the biggest song they've done?
Rooftops is probably the biggest one. Last Train Home you might have heard of.
Yeah, maybe.
But let's face it, we don't listen to their music anymore because he
that's
came
kind
out.
of different though.
And he's... But hold on, this is where it's not different because he's the lead singer.
Like that particular example, because Lost Prophets are probably more UK listener based. Say Michael Jackson, for example, who's like internationally known.
Yeah.
People would definitely still listen to his music.
Yeah.
100%.
I still do.
Yeah.
I still rate Michael Jackson. I still love Michael Jackson.
There's supposedly these allegations. I guess that I don't know. I'm not.
For me,
into
that whole Michael Jackson story, I kind of just blanked in my mind because of how much how much I loved his music. So when all that came out, I was like, I don't think I want to listen and watch this.
Would you? Yeah. So
anyway,
the question is, would you watch, listen, or whatever to something just because of something that person has done. And I guess the question is, it depends.
It depends because
I wouldn't say no blankly.
No, because with the music, the reason I gave that example is because it's a band of 3 or 4 members, and he's the lead singer. That in my head is like fucking right there. Every time you listen to that music, his voice is there, which makes me hate that music. That band, the final members went to try and start something new, and they couldn't get it off the ground just because that was still hanging over their head. However, if I'm watching a film, let's say I'm a massive fan of Lord of the Rings, I watched that film,
Django Unchained, because you probably enjoy that film more than Lord of the Rings.
True, but I can only think of the actors' names in Lord of the Rings. So I'm looking at. Right, Jamie Foxx. Okay, Django. I'm watching Django. Why have you done that? I'm watching Django and I see Jamie Foxx. I'm seeing Jamie Foxx and the rest of that cast.
Yeah.
I am in that film.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
I like him. In that film, there is more than one person that has contributed to that film. In fact, there is hundreds of people that have contributed to the making of that film.
But then you could
which
say,
makes me be happy to watch that.
The band are all contributing.
Yeah, I know, but he's the voice you hear.
Okay, so what about you still listen to Michael Jackson?
Yeah, because I like him. I'm not fighting that one. I love Michael Jackson, and I'm avoiding the fact that he's been told by everyone he's a kiddie fiddler according to several different sources. I just blanked that out
about
because Man in the Mirror
far too long. So
so basically,
fair.
People use their power to get what they want. This is another great link. Going from one sexual predator to another, because we're going to do our season 2 spoiler cast.
Is he a sexual predator though?
He's a fucking weirdo, mate.
He's a weirdo, but he's not.
He's a predator. He does everything he possibly can to get a girl.
But
that's a predator.
It's to do with, like, it's to do with genuine love.
He fucking murders people to get a girl. That's his. Right.
But that's not.
Anyway,
that's not fun.
Before we jump into this, stop. Before we jump into this is a spoiler cast, like this section. So if you want to move on with the rest of the podcast and you haven't finished watching season 2, make sure you go to the gaming section now. The gaming section will be when this finishes, and there'll be no more spoilers throughout the podcast after that.
Can you put a timestamp like on here? Or
the timestamp will be in the comments. It'll just be like.
Well, there you are.
When the gaming starts is when we stop talking about season 2. So, Jack's watched this very recently, within the last couple of days, a week or so. I watched it like 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So my memory's a bit hazy. But I think when Jack starts talking about things, I'll be able to jump straight in. So what would you say was the...
How far do we want to go back with this? Do we want to go from the start and talk about it in total, or do we just want to...
I think the first point, I'll start us off. The first point I'll bring up is this. So he's met this girl called Love, which, by the way, Love's a stupid name, but I think I talked about that last podcast.
I was going to say, we rinsed that towel.
But so for me, for the first 2 episodes, I was very much like, you know what? I think Joe's trying to get his life back on track here. And I think he's changed his ways until we had... So I thought it was all going to be about Candice trying to come back and ruin his life. And I thought, you know what, that's a nice change of pace. Yeah. She's going to be the villain here. She's going to be the psycho.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time until she turns up.
Yeah.
And that was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
However, you then find out he's got a bloke in a box in a storage unit. And that was the moment that I went, oh, here we go.
And
that was the first twist.
Back
I was
over
like,
the fact that he tried killing Candice. So you're then like...
Yeah.
No, he's still bad.
Yes. So like, obviously you think, oh yeah, that comes after, doesn't it? So you got the man in the box, and he has essentially stolen his identity. Now I thought that was quite clever in the fact that it completely blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, shit, no, he didn't just make up a name and go and get a house. He has fucking thought this through. He's researched this bloke. He's captured him in a box and then taken that man's identity and gone and lived in this building. Now.
Bit unnecessary.
It was a little bit unnecessary, and I felt really sorry for the bloke, but he does go and get the girl in the end, to be fair to him, so credit to you. He moves off to like Bulgaria or something where he's met some woman online.
Yeah, when he spoke to him, he seemed fine. So.
He seemed pretty happy.
Sound.
And he didn't harm him in any way. He just kept him in a box, and he did bring him nice food. So Joe had become a little bit better in that sense.
This is so strange.
It is really strange. But
like,
then
we're saying how good he is.
Oh no, but that's what this series does.
It's such a mind screw.
Season 1, you're rooting for Joe.
Yeah.
He's murdered 3 people at this point. You're still there, like, I want him and Beck to be together, and that makes you question your own morals, if anything. But yeah, if we're going to talk about after that point, you then find out that he actually tried to kill Candice.
Yeah.
Which is why she left in the first place. Yeah. Which then makes you go, fuck. I started really disliking Joe at this point. I was like, nah, he's not good. He's not.
But then you're like, right, okay, so this Australian bloke's come in, and you're just like, well, no, because I still want Joe to be with Love. And it's like,
so Love and Joe. Why do Love and Joe? Right, so Love, because Candice comes back and she gets with, what's his name? 40. She gets with 40, which is Love's brother. And then, after all of that's kind of happened, it all comes out that Joe isn't really who he said he was. Because his name was... Will, which... Beth. Will Blenheim. So, he's been calling himself Will this whole time.
Candice then goes to Love.
And tells her. And then Love breaks up with him because you're not really who said you were. You're Joe, you're not Will. And then you've got Candice, who's kind of like, well, I've used 40 now. I don't really need to be with him. I still need to get to Joe and like stop him doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
In the middle there, somewhere, something weird happens. Because like the Aussie bloke comes in.
Yeah.
What happens to him in the end?
I think they had a scrap in the shop.
Yeah.
And then I think he hit Joe. And then I think basically he was just like, fuck this, I'm out, sort of thing.
And he just left.
Yeah.
So he
wasn't really much to it.
Because one of the things that sticks in my mind from the whole series is you've got the celebrity guy, Henderson, who is causing problems for this woman.
Neighbour.
For the neighbour, yeah. Which is really weird because they don't really seem to have that massive connection with Joe, and then he suddenly decides he's going to go and sort out Henderson. It's like he can't keep himself out of other people's business.
Yeah, that's his whole sort of demeanour, isn't it? He has to protect people.
So then he ends up going...
Which is the impression you get from all the flashbacks with his mum and all that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I need to protect the people around me because they can't look after themselves. Yeah. Is essentially what his sort of understanding of the world is. And what he then goes and does is he goes and he kills Henderson. Yeah. Now this for me sticks in my head because he fucking grinds the man up. Is Henderson the one he puts in the grinder?
All I remember is that he's... Because I watched the first 7 episodes, then left it for about 3 weeks, and then watched the last 3.
As you did.
So I remember the last 3, but
I'm pretty sure Henderson's the guy that he puts in the grinder, and you see him grinding out his bones and stuff.
I can't remember that.
It's the sausage grinder. It's the meat grinder.
Don't remember.
Anyway,
I can't help you.
So Henderson gets killed, which then Candice realises it was Joe, and is like, "You're killing again. I know what you're up to. I'm going to fucking ruin you." And then it all comes out that 40, once upon a time, killed someone, and it was covered up by the family. Now, that then...
He opens up to Joe, doesn't he?
He opens up massively to Joe.
Mates.
They're now best mates, and it's very much like, I want you to get back with my sister, but first you got to help me write this play.
Yeah.
Which is like fucking mental. Like, do not understand it whatsoever.
But whilst that's happening, he's got that girl locked up in his cage then, hasn't he? Because
so
she follows him there, right?
Yeah, so he slept with her.
Yeah.
And then she got really suspicious over him, so followed him to the unit.
And then he had no choice.
He locked her in there. And then...
Because obviously that makes... basically they're in the hotel, aren't they? Writing this play. Well, they've done a couple of things. He gets kidnapped. He thinks that he's now
and it's
in
actually to
trouble.
write the play.
It's just to
But
write the
he's
play.
got his neighbour locked up, who he's also slept with,
Yeah.
because that's what you do. You sleep with someone, then you lock them in a glass
Yeah.
box. I don't know if you've not done that before, but it gets a good kick. So then,
Yeah, I mean, I've not tried it yet.
experiment with your love life, Jack. You never
You have
know.
to be open-minded these days. You
You don't know where my girlfriend is right now. So don't go near the shed.
We've already talked about sexual predators enough for one night. Let's stop.
So,
Fuck's sake.
so you've then got the scenario where you've got her in the cage, and you've got him trying to basically persuade Love to be back together with him.
Yeah.
Whilst he's writing with 40, they take drugs.
Well, no, he gets spiked.
He gets spiked
By 40.
By
He gives him like 4
because
times the
40's
amount
a nut
of
job.
acid or something.
And then within that time that he's drugged up, he goes to. He thinks that he's gone and killed.
He's trying to investigate
girl.
what happened.
No,
Because he finds her dead.
yeah, he
and he's
thinks
like,
he
what
killed
the
her, but at the same time, whilst in that drug spiral, him and Love have kind of reconnected because they meet in the hotel, don't they?
Yeah. And she's pissed.
She's
as in
pissed.
literally drunk.
Yeah, and they kind of get together.
Yeah.
Then like the last 2 episodes for me are
Mate,
fucking
it's just
blur.
everything just goes mental.
It is
Because
crazy.
40 like jumps out a window, so then he jumps
Into a
after him, goes to find him, and then so this is obviously based after he's been told of what happens whilst he was on a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went to the shop to get whatever the drink was that they moon
juice.
Why
do I remember that? But I
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
remember 40's name.
to sober up.
Yeah.
And then he goes and sees Love at the hotel or whatever. But then they both... No, that must have been...
But then Love follows him because Love thinks that he's going off to meet someone else.
Yeah.
He then goes into the storage unit, drunk out of his...
And
like,
then
drugged off his mind,
40
and she follows him.
And 40 goes to see Candice.
Yeah.
So then Joe then thinks it's Candice that's
Murdered.
stabbed her up.
Yeah.
But I think he then went to their house the next day. As in her parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, basically it worked out that it wasn't Candice that done it.
It wasn't Candice, in fact, it was
So then, yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
So
like
it
stabbed
turns
her
out
up,
all along. So going back a couple of steps, 40 opened up to Joe earlier in the season saying that he was like a murderer and that he had murdered accidentally one of his babysitters.
Yeah.
And it then turns out it wasn't him all along.
No.
It was Love who
Yeah.
had murdered the babysitter, used 40 as bait, and then it got covered up by the parents because 40 was really young and they kind of paid it off. So it turns out Love is a little bit of a psycho too,
Yeah.
and will do anything for anybody.
So then she's then killed. I don't know what I can't.
She's
remember what her name
killed.
is.
She's killed Love. Love has killed the babysitter.
Reporter, I can't.
and the
No, but-
and the reporter.
Yeah. So then Joe is like, right, because Candice finds him in there and locks him in.
Yeah.
Love then comes in,
And
Candice
as Candice
is like,
coming out,
you've got to lock him up, whatever. Love kind of reacts as if she's like horrified or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Candice leaves. She fucking stabs him with a bottle, and then
Follows
she goes
Candice and stabs
inside,
her. Yeah.
and then, oh, mate, it's just absolutely mental.
lets Joe out,
Yeah.
and then they go back to the store, and isn't 40... 40's then is 40 then having a row with Joe?
No.
Have I remembered this right? Does 40 get
40,
killed?
40 is told by Candice
Yeah.
that obviously all about Joe. So
Mhm.
40's messaging Love saying,
Need to talk
come on,
to
this is
yeah.
like, yeah, and all that. And then he's like, right, you both got to meet me at a warehouse. And then he pulls out a gun on Joe. And then yeah, he's basically, and then
Policeman
you
comes
hear a gunshot, and then you've got the guy who was sleeping with a reporter
in. Yeah.
behind him. I think he killed him.
Yeah, so he did kill him. Meaning, you've then got Love, Joe, Mum, who then move into a new neighbourhood to kind of start again.
Pregnant.
Yeah, Love's pregnant. Yeah, I forgot about that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's a big one. So Love's pregnant with Joe's baby. Assuming that it's Joe's baby. Could also be a hunky Australian bloke's baby.
Doubt it, but yeah.
But then the main thing for me is the last scene in the whole thing. So
because you're given the impression that it's all over.
It's all over. It's all happy. He's got the girl he wants. He's in this nice mansion house in the middle of nowhere. Literally nothing at this point could go wrong. But it's all like they've all moved in, and Joe walks into the back garden, and it's all like nice music's playing.
I got a very 1960s impression from it.
Yeah, it was very much like
very much
happy ever after.
Garden, sun shines out.
Yeah,
that sort of
get the barbecue
weird,
on the pool.
Very weird.
People are in the pool, whatever.
It's 70s, 80s. I don't know. Yeah.
But I really liked the ending and just the way it just turned. So you're watching him. He's walking down, and then he looks over the fence, and then it's a monologue, isn't it, in his head whilst he's walking down the path. I can't believe it. It's all worked out. Blah, 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 blah. And he goes, and then I saw you.
Yeah.
And it's that word. The word "you" doesn't get heard much within this series, but when you hear it, you're like, that's what he's talking about.
Whenever he says "you," it's always in the first one. It was always Beck, and then in this season, it was always you, Love.
Yeah.
So it was always about
you,
love,
referring to love all the time.
And then it was like you, and all you see is some woman reading a book,
and you just see her legs,
and you're just like,
that's not love. What? So for me, this means.
So what do you think it's going to be?
So this means two things. One, season 3 is on the way.
Yeah.
Because 100%. It's just set you up for another thing. But for me, this is Joe. This is his mindset. He is never 100% satisfied, and he is a bit ADHD in the sense that he can't focus on one thing. And in his world, it's I can't focus on one girl. And whenever I see someone new, I'm just obsessed again. And I think that he's now got to the point where he's gotten away with so much that it's almost the norm for him to go, I like that woman.
Yeah, because he was very much like, I've changed, I've not done this. And then he then went and killed someone. It's just like, oh, right, okay.
But he's gotten away with so much now that I think he'll probably do it again. But I think there's going to be the complication in the fact that he might have a young one on the way in season 3. I think there'll be the complication that Love isn't going to die anytime soon because she was such a good character, and I think she'll still have a big part to play in the next season. What would you say that ending means?
The first season for me was Beck's died. He's, the transition from 1 to 2 was
Candace.
He's moved somewhere.
But at the end of season,
it's very much. It wasn't about him getting the girl. It was
him getting away from the girl.
Him, kind of like.
Because at the end of season 1, Candace turns up. So that's the ending of that season.
So my feeling is how they'll probably change it again, as in the storyline. It's not going to be anything like season 2.
No,
I just don't understand how it would be like. What would work? What would be?
It'll be very much girl next door, I think, because I think he's going to be.
So is it going to be about how does he then get the girl while still having love and a child? But then is that a bit weird?
It could be the other way round. It could be that the girl is obsessed with him, and he's like, "No, I've got this." So the thought that came to my head when you were saying
about,
that's
kind of what Love was like. Because she had the, she's obviously always protected 40, and then she had the police investigate Joe and knew who he was, and yet still carried on. And
because she had to have him.
Yeah.
Because her and him are very similar characters, which could then mean they work together. Which could be again complicated.
But then what would they then do?
Maybe they both want this woman. But the thought that came into my head was hang on with me with this.
Threesomes.
Threesomes. You, me, her. Was American Pie reunion. So you know how he's with his wife and they go to the family home, and it's the girl that he used to babysit is next door.
Right.
Have you watched the film?
Yeah, ages ago.
And she's turning 18 and she's obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And she wants to sleep with him.
Yeah.
And it could be like that, where he's trying to avoid it at all costs, but she happens to be the girl that's like, you. Or, it could be that Joe is still the main character.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be that, to be fair, because he's just so good at the character he plays.
And, especially, on the internet, he's... With the first season, I didn't see any memes. Whereas now the second season's out... You see the memes from season one.
You see memes from season one.
But, I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, but since season two
came out, I see it.
Yeah. It's quality.
Yeah. I think it's very much... He's now the face of it. If there was ever a doubt, he most certainly now is the face of it. Yeah. So it's kind of you're not gonna move away from. They're gonna take advantage of that.
He'll still be him 100%. I think that I don't know. Just to finish off this conversation, because season 3 will come out. Maybe closer to the time we can take a look. It's probably going
to be a year away at least.
At least, yeah. I mean. For me, though, You has become one of my favourite series of all time. And I think
it's quality.
When I watched You, along with Sex Education as my other one, made me realise...
It's just obsessed with sex, basically.
Made me realise just how bloody good Netflix is.
Yeah, Netflix is quality.
That was the point I went, you know what, I don't know how I lived without Netflix for a couple of years. Because I didn't watch Netflix for ages.
Really?
And so people were all talking about Orange is the New Black. I haven't actually watched Orange is the New Black. I've watched part of season 1.
I took ages to watch that. It took me ages to watch Prison Break. It took me ages to watch Breaking Bad.
So Breaking Bad's another
Sons
one.
of Anarchy still not seen. But yeah,
it's on my watch list. I was speaking to someone on Reddit. This is a nice guy on Reddit, not one that takes the piss out of my looks.
Yeah.
This guy was like...
Yet.
This guy was like... The problem with Netflix is all I do is add things to my watch list and I never actually watch them.
Yeah.
I was like, I feel that exactly.
Absolute mood.
But yeah, I think that You is going to become one of the classics of this era.
Maybe when it's when the trailer comes out, we should do what our prediction type thing.
See, I would, but I hate watching trailers. Because I don't like seeing anything.
When it comes out, when people are talking about it again, we'll come up with theories.
Come up with some theories, yeah. And we'll rewatch the first 2 seasons and then come up with some theories, yeah. Have you watched Sex Education season 2?
I've not seen any of it.
Right, get on it.
Okay.
That is what I'm going to say, because I finished that today and I want to talk about that too. Maybe if you... Yeah, I don't know. It would be 16 hours worth of watching something, which I don't think you've got on your hands at the moment, but...
I mean...
Maybe in a couple of podcasts.
I struggled to make tonight.
Yeah.
Purely because of uni
work and stuff like that.
But the submission was 2 o'clock today, so it kind of worked out. It just meant that when I finished work at 5, I then had literally driving up to prepare myself
for the podcast. So,
but
but it's going well pretty so far. I mean, we might have to delay talking about Sex Education, but we're also going to move on to some other delays. See, I'm getting these links in. This can become a new thing. This is going to become a new thing. So we're on to the gaming segment now. We're going to be talking about games that have been delayed. So just off the top of my head here, there's definitely another one that's been delayed that I can't remember, and it's kind of eating away at me. But I've got Cyberpunk, Iron Man VR, Avengers...
Last of Us 2 has been delayed.
And The Last of Us 2 is on my list. There's another one, but I can't think what it is.
Okay. I thought I smashed it, but...
You haven't smashed it, unfortunately. So... massive amount of games are being delayed recently. One of which, in Cyberpunk, is massive because a lot of people were basically planning their whole year around that. I know people from work who have booked time off to play Cyberpunk because they were so excited for it, and they're like, "Can I change my holiday?" because I want to change it to September now. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've already got September booked off. Unlucky. Not to play Cyberpunk, by the way. But
have you actually got a holiday for September?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
for New York.
I was going to say,
Hopefully,
what you should do is be like, yeah, you can have it for £300, £200.
You can have it for let's say 500. That might cover my cost of the PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, like these games being delayed. Part of me thinks that there just shouldn't be release dates anymore because it feels like something's getting delayed every day at the moment, and people are very much memeing the fact that 2020 is the year of gaming delays. But is it for the best?
On the face of it, do you think it's the best?
I understand.
Sorry, you just asked me.
I understand it's frustrating, but yeah, I would say it's for the best.
Yeah, I would say it's better to let people down and have a good game than to release it. Although there's also, now it's so easy to update a game, it's kind of like, well, you may as well release it.
But the argument there is, if you look in the last few years of the gaming industry, there's one game in particular that came out two. I'll just talk about two.
No Man's Sky again.
Yes, I got two games that came out too early. No Man's Sky came out too early, and because of that whole studio, that was going to be their big hit. That was going to be their chance to make their studio a 20-man studio into a 200-man studio. They fudged up because they bought it out too early and it didn't work. The other one is Anthem. Now, Anthem is a huge studio already, and their game came out and it didn't meet the hype. It wasn't finished. It wasn't polished. Now, the reason I think that delaying a game is good, two reasons. First reason is it is then the best possible product to give to your consumer. If I'm in charge of a gaming developer company, let's say I'm in charge of Santa Monica, who make God of War, and I've got God of War 2 ready, but I don't know, there's just parts of it a bit clunky. There's parts of the character design that I haven't quite got the way I want to. I would rather delay that and give a game out to my consumers who are spending £60 on a game and getting fucking top quality, top tier content than put a game out that isn't going to work.
I think, obviously, it always depends. However, it depends. By that I mean, if say the storyline isn't quite right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because if it's a single game, a single player game, that's literally why you buy it.
Yeah.
If a few of the graphics aren't quite right, that could be a minor detail. If, for example, it's COD and the servers aren't ready, fair enough.
Yeah, you can't push
if
that out.
Call of Duty single player wasn't right, I think they'd still release it and then maybe update it. I wouldn't see that as being a problem because COD, the majority of their game-based players are multiplayer.
A different thing with COD though is there's 3 companies working on COD, and they work on a 3-year cycle. It's not even years anymore. It's 3 iteration cycle. Yeah. So they're kind of always ready. It wouldn't surprise me if the new COD was already ready to be launched now. Probably. But they're delaying it just because they're on that cycle.
Like the ones that you mentioned earlier. Last of Us is a game that I've pre-ordered. I was annoyed that it got pushed back to May.
See, I'm not, because now it's just after my birthday and I can't wait.
So initially I was annoyed, whereas now I think of it and think, well, the first one was so good that if it's got to be worked on a bit more to ensure that either one, it's a similar or better level, I'm fine with that.
And you trust those developers because they have made The Last of Us. They made Uncharted. They know exactly what they're doing. Naughty Dog know exactly what they're doing. And I trust them to have made the right decision.
I think the point you made earlier was the best. Yes, there should be a release date because you want to get the hype. You want people to be looking forward to something. But is it? Yeah, are you going to get to a point where people are like,
I'm not going to say when this is coming out until a month before, and then do a massive month of advertising.
One thing that's that Bethesda software. Softworks, is it?
Software.
With Skyrim, I think it was. They announced that it was coming out.
Yeah.
And they said, like, well, it would have been, 2015, 16 or something?
Yeah.
I had it on pre-order for about 18 months. But I'm pretty sure they only released any information on it like a month before release.
Yeah.
Or like couple of weeks before release.
Does that include a release date?
So then you sort of think, well, is that the best way of doing it? Do you just say, look, it's going to be out in say you think it's going to be late 2020,
Fall
just
2020,
it's going to be 2021.
No, I would say.
Would you rather it got brought forward or pushed back?
I think both of those would annoy me. That sounds really stupid. If something was brought forward, would it annoy me? Part of me would, because I'm not in this position because I have a full-time job and I don't have the finances to cover this sort of hobby. But if I was a gamer who bought nearly every game that came out,
then you'd be if you
and
were doing...
then suddenly clash with something, I might be a little cheesed off. There'll be people out there that would find that annoying.
You'd get notice, I guess.
You would, but for me, I would rather they said.
If, say, for example, it's like December 2020. If they now know it's going to be November 2020, you'll probably know about that in September 2020.
Yeah, potentially.
How are they going to go? Right, we're 3 months away. We're a month away. Oh no, now we're suddenly ready. It's not gonna. And to be honest, they would never bring it forward because they would be like, right, okay, game's ready. Let's just keep the hype building. Then.
So, I would say I would rather they just said it's coming in the last quarter of 2020, and then when it gets to September, announce a date, knowing that they're going to hit that date. Yeah. If it's suddenly, it's now going to come in the first quarter of 2021. I'm not like, but that was meant to come out on October 25th. I'm like, it's gone back a quarter. That's not that bad. To me, 1 quarter's not as bad as 4 months, which sounds stupid because it's basically the same thing. But in my head, advertising-wise, it's like something being £3.99 instead of £4. There's fuck all difference there. Yeah. But for a consumer, they see a difference.
You think, £3.
Yeah. When it's not, it's £4.
Yeah.
But so the second reason, I've given my first reason, the fact that the game will be ready and better for the consumer.
Yeah.
My second reason is this. I don't know if you're as in the gaming sort of news sphere as much as maybe I am with the podcasts I listen to and stuff. Yeah. But one thing that's been not necessarily covered in the news widespread, but it's definitely something that is within the little sphere that is gaming, is the crunch. So the crunch is basically that last month or so, or 2 months, where you're working as hard as you can to get your game ready for launch day. And there's been a lot of talk in the gaming press about the power that is exerted onto those people that are working for the company and all the pressure that is put on them that is basically breaking their lives and ruining their lives. And it's been compared to working in a sweatshop where you're working hours that just shouldn't be worked for money that you should not be working for. And I think that if a game is delayed, in my head, the people that are making stuff that I love, the animators, the level designers, the voice actors,
be emotionally better off.
They're going to be emotionally better off, and they're going to be working at a pace that is much more bearable. Therefore, they're not ruining their lives to make this product. So when something gets delayed, like Naughty Dog, for example,
and also if you're pushing for something for a deadline, in general,
it's not going to be as good a work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So for me, that is what. Even though I'm like, of course, that comes in my mind first off.
The only change I would make, really, is probably make the deadline vague, and then when it gets closer to the time, and you know for an absolute fact that it's going to be ready for that date, say a month beforehand, or even 2 months.
Yeah.
Because surely, with 2 months, you'll know whether you're ready or not.
Yeah,
you could just go, right, okay, bang, this is the date.
Thing is, though, we hear about games. But again, quite a long time before they actually come out. You saw the God of War trailer at E3.
We've heard that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be out. but it's not going to be till like 2023.
But is that official though? Has that officially been said by Rockstar Games?
Someone at Rockstar has said that they
they
have it in the pipeline, but they've got 2 other projects they want to do first.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of like, well, they are working on the first. The second is about to start.
Yeah.
So you're sort of thinking, right, okay,
that's a way off then.
We've got another 3-4
So like
days.
for me, I understand what you're saying about like give us a vague point and then pinpoint it. That would work for me as well, because I quite like the hype of a game. Like seeing this first trailer, like Elder Scrolls, for example.
Yeah.
The Elder Scrolls 6, is it? The trailer came out.
Yeah.
And it was literally just fucking
Like
scanning
seconds,
over a surface, and then it just had
a few mountains.
Yeah, that to me was like, even though I don't like Elder Scrolls particularly, it's not my sort of game. I was like, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That is cool. That has built the hype. I rate it. For me, the absolute geniuses of this are Nintendo. So Nintendo, you will not hear about a game, and then suddenly, Luigi's Mansion 2 is coming out in September, and this is announced in like June, July, and you're like, oh, that's sick. Yeah. That's coming out. It's just around the corner. I can buy that. I can save up for that. And for me, they've done it again now, where I'm probably not going to buy it because I played the demo and it was shit. But the Pokemon Dungeons that is coming out in February was in the Pokemon Direct like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So like they went, oh yeah, here's a game that's coming out, by the way. You can buy this in February. The demo is ready to download now. And people are like, get in there, that's sick. Yeah. And they're like, suddenly they're all jumping on the train. So I think if people want to do like this, not a shadow drop, not to the point where you're dropping it and it's out now, but like announce a game when you know you're going to hit.
The only thing with that is obviously, like you say, people need to be able to afford it.
Yeah, and with a £60 game. Yeah, with a £60 game, like some people will have seen the Halo Infinite's coming out and they'll save up for it.
Really enthusiastic about certain games. If it is going to come out in 3 months' time, they'll probably spend it anyway.
Yeah, they'll buy it. They'll buy it regardless. So, potentially missing out on games that were meant to come out but haven't, to missing out on E3. So I'm getting these little links. I'm enjoying this.
I've had better ones, but
but it works. So E3 is a massive gaming conference whereby every single year, every major company from around the world comes together and talks about their products and tries to sell it to us as the consumers or to businesses in general. So for me, I love E3. I spend every E3, very sadly, waking up at like 4 a.m. to watch the conferences live. I like getting involved in the hype.
Because there was one not long ago. Was that E3 or was that something else?
Depends what you're going to say. Might be the Game Awards.
Maybe a month ago.
Game Awards.
Maybe.
Yeah. So Game Awards announced a couple of games there.
Because a couple of podcasts ago, I remember we were talking about it. I just can't remember.
But E3 is June, July every year. I think I'm right in saying that. May, June, July sort of time. And they will announce loads. You'll usually have a stage for Sony, a stage for Microsoft, a stage for Nintendo. Ubisoft will have one. EA will have one. Yeah. And maybe like Bethesda will have one, and a couple of other ones as well.
Or Elder Scrolls.
Or something coming out, or like Wolfenstein and stuff like that. So last year, Sony didn't go to E3, which for me made the conference a bit less exciting.
Naughty Dog will have one this year if they got Last of Us coming out. But then
they're all
in June,
they're all
in May,
so. They're PlayStation exclusives, so they're under the PlayStation radar. Yeah. Where like with the Microsoft studios, which off the top of my head I can't think of the names of them, but they all go to the Microsoft stage, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's all Microsoft products, and like Media Molecule, for example, PlayStation owned. Dreams is coming out this month, so they would all be on the PlayStation stage. But PlayStation didn't do it last year, and they've also said that they're not going to do it this year. Which, do you think that's a good move or not? Try and forget what I mentioned before we start the recording, because I'll pick that up in a minute about the cost. Do you think missing out on the biggest stage to advertise your games and your new console coming out at the end of this year is a good idea?
Well, I mean, I know that we briefly spoke about it, but there are alternative methods now, aren't there? So it's kind of like, well, okay.
But on face value, it's not a good thing to do because everyone's at E3. All eyes are on gaming that weekend.
Yeah. I mean, if you were to flip it to another situation, so okay, about maybe a month ago, they have that technology convention.
Yeah.
Where say
the one where
if Google
did the Cybertruck, did they? Was that the one? You
don't know, but they had the one thing I remember is that it was like a microwave, but the opposite. You instantly cool stuff instead of
sick.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's well cool.
Yeah.
Hold on then.
So they've had this convention,
yeah.
and you sort of think, right, okay, if Google are going, then Apple will go,
yeah.
and if Apple are going, Tesla will go, and if
Microsoft will go, and
So you sort of think, okay, E3, Sony would be the same, right? It would be
if everyone else is going, I've got to be there.
But obviously, what you were saying earlier, it's kind of like, well, I'm not surprised.
Well, yes. Essentially, what I said before we recorded this podcast was the reason why Sony are missing out, and this is just the figures might not be exact because I'm kind of picking this from memory from a podcast I listened to like a week and a bit ago. But I was listening to the Kind of Funny Games Daily, and they mentioned that there actually is a massive cost to have a stage at E3. So I heard a figure of £8 million just to have a stage for your press conference.
I'm assuming that's for the whole weekend.
Yeah, so you pay for the show
still
floor.
A lot, but yeah.
You pay for the show floor, and you also pay for your hour and a half coverage.
TED
Talk-esque sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
Your actual press conference. So
seminar, I guess.
It's like a seminar. They call it a press conference.
Oh, right.
So like
that's what it is.
All the press go there. They all watch what's happening, and they spread it like wildfire across the internet. It's essentially what happens.
I mean, yeah.
But the cost of that is mental.
Yeah. When Skyrim came out, I'm pretty sure that was sort of how they released it.
Mm-hmm. Because that used to be how news got around.
Yeah.
Because you go to E3 and that'll be it.
All the new FIFAs, they'll tell you all the features in E3.
Yeah, there'll be E3 and then there'll be Gamescom, which is in Germany.
It's
which is where they all do that sort of stuff.
You know, instead of... You don't see as many TV adverts anymore for FIFA.
No.
You see people like Road to Shore or Bateson.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't play FIFA. I don't know who these people are.
For example, okay, all right, Call of Duty. Then you go right. Okay, Myth. You're gonna play. You're gonna stream COD. Syndicate. You're gonna stream COD. Vicstar. You're gonna stream COD. Zerka. You're gonna stream COD. That's how you sell it nowadays.
Yeah, because that's where the eyes are.
When it obviously closer to the time, that will be what they'll probably do is to say, I mean, any games in particular that you think of.
So off the top of my head right now, I mean, it's rumoured that Sony are going to do what they call a state of play, which is essentially a live stream onto the Sony channels across the internet for the PlayStation 5 reveal.
Yeah, so what I mean is like games that will be coming out in September, because that's probably what June, July is going to be doing.
Yeah, so for me, it is heavily rumoured. I mean, there's one called Godfall, which has already been announced for PS5.
Yeah.
And that'll be coming out at the launch of PS5.
Closer to the time, you'll have people playing it on Twitch or YouTube, whatever. I think for any announcement they can make, I don't think people are necessarily going to the conferences anymore. It's very much live streaming.
Yeah.
So like you rightly said like before we started, why would you pay the money when people can just watch it for free online?
Yeah, so if they're essentially... What they do now is they do little state of plays, they call it, throughout the year, which are just little shows about what's happening in the next few months. Now, they'll probably do one either February, March time, or they're going to do one near at E3, which will be a big, like, this is what's happening with PlayStation 5.
What they'll probably do, which would make sense, is say E3, I don't know what the date is, but say it's July the 1st.
Yeah.
Right? Sony, what they probably will do is create some hype about 2 weeks before about all these announcements they've got.
Yeah.
And then a few days before, steal the limelight and go, right, Twitch stream or YouTube stream or stream, like you say, everywhere, and just say, this is our state of play, basically.
This is what's going to happen.
Because everyone will be talking about E3, and then it'll be like, oh, bang, Sony have got a load of announcements. And basically they're then feeding off the back of...
They're feeding off the hype of E3 without paying to be at E3.
Yeah.
And it is ideal for them. And I think that it's so much easier to stream announcements than it is to go and make a massive conference. But they can do a conference. They can go and hire a conference hall. That it just isn't at E3. There's venues all over the world they could do this in and then stream it.
Yeah.
They can do it their own way. That's what EA do essentially. They don't have somewhere at the booth at E3. They actually do it in a seminar place across the road.
But the selling point of E3 is that you go there to find out about it because that's like your hot press. Whereas now it's all streamed, so you're there anyway.
Yeah. So essentially, I think EA,
unless you're a fanatic about E3, no point going.
No, and personally, obviously I'd never go anyway because it's America, but for me, the hype is sitting at home and watching it and being on Twitter and being in comments of people's YouTube streams, whatever it might be, and just loving it as a massive fan base. That's where the big hype comes for me. We're going to move on to our topic of the week, which is Dream Podcast Guests. Now keep in mind I still haven't come up with my Dream Podcast Guest. I'm going to fire it to you. So this is...
I mean, I thought you had, but alright, fair.
I can't remember who I said. Oh well.
We're
going to go for, so I'm going to fire it over to Jack now. This is essentially one person that we would love to have on the podcast if we ever start doing guests. I've got one person talking to me about being a guest, by the way, which we might talk about after this. Keep it hush-hush for now. I said to him that I would like to build the audience a bit more before I have a guest on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He could very much help with that audience growth. So
I think I know what you're on about.
Yeah. So
my dream
go for it.
Podcast guest. Now, I have many interests. My main one is probably football. Alongside, certain technologies. But for me, football's always been a massive part of my life. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, probably unfortunately, I've grown up as a Newcastle fan. So, for me, it's always been about watching Newcastle, supporting them not as glorious as other teams.
Lebo, kill or die.
So for me, it's always been... I've always looked at certain players and tried to build my game off it. Now,
Amiobi,
as an attacking player...
Shola!
As an attacking player, I have obviously always watched one man.
There's only one man.
Second to absolutely no one.
And that's not Hitler, by the way.
Yeah, you can't see his hand. Big Al, the big
Al. What a legend.
I think he just, my favourite podcast that I've ever watched is Bar Hours.
Bar Hours, of course, that's the best on the internet. Is True Geordies with Alan Shearer. Yeah.
And it basically just talks about the sacrifices he's made and, basically just what an absolute top bloke he is.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I always used to watch him, and my dad always used to be like, "If you don't eat your vegetables, you're not going to be.
You're not going to be like Alan.
You're not going to be big like Alan."
Like that TV show where Michael Owen used to come out the poster.
And it's just like, obviously, watching him growing up has been a massive sort of influence in my love for the game, and obviously tried picking up on stuff that he does.
The celebration.
Not what's the word? Executing to his sort of level, but I just think what an absolute player. Undoubtedly in my mind the best striker in Premier League history.
Yeah.
Sort of back that up by scoring a shit ton of goals.
Mm-hmm.
I think won titles with Blackburn, then played for his boy club for Newcastle. Obviously,
played for his country, captained his country.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that he scored so many goals,
Yeah.
And yet he spent the good part of 3 seasons out injured. And you sort of think,
true.
What could he have done if he wasn't?
Ballon d'Or.
And also, what could he have done if he wasn't at Newcastle? And now, obviously, that would be a question that everyone will always ask.
Yeah.
And
but for him,
and you know,
shows...
based on that podcast, you get the impression that he doesn't care because it's his boyhood club.
He was living the dream.
Yeah. So for him, it is. But I would just I guess watching True Geordie's podcast, you kind of answer a lot of your questions there.
Yeah.
But I'd very much be sort of interested in stuff other than football.
So for me, with him, my main question line that I would like to go down after we've done the obvious ones of what's it like to be in professional football, all that crap, I would want to dive into what is it like when you finish playing football?
Yeah.
What does your life feel like now that you don't do this thing you've been doing your whole life?
Basically.
How do you make up your time? How do you make a living? Because he wasn't on the wages that's going to now set him up for life. He was earning a decent amount of money, don't get me wrong. But he's not on the Ronaldo levels where Ronaldo will retire and not have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, Alan Shearer still had to go and do something.
But
he tried management.
Yeah.
He's doing punditry. What's it like after you finish football?
And that's another sort of reason why I'd want to sort of have him on is because not only does he know the game very well because he's obviously played to that standard and been the best striker in the Premier League, but he also talks about it with sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be good at something physically, but to be mentally good at it as well. I mean, obviously in his latter years that was why he kept up to a high standards because he was a yard ahead in his head, but
like
the way that he talks about the game and how teams have, like, obviously on Match of the Day, it would be like, right, okay, he'll break something down to all the minor details, and sort of watching him talk about that again, you watch him play and you pick up certain bits, but you can also listen to him talk about it and he just knows what he's on about.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are a lot of footballers, especially nowadays, that might be a good player, but if they were to talk to you about football, wouldn't be able to put across their points that they want to, maybe even have the knowledge to be able to do it.
One for me is Danny Murphy.
Yeah,
I mean, he reacted to a tweet that I put towards Match of the Day 2 once because he was not happy with what I said about him.
Yeah.
But like I said that I just didn't understand what he was going on about. Like, why are you saying that? It makes no sense. And even his comeback to me didn't make any sense. So like for me, there's players out there that can talk the talk and walk the walk. There's players that can walk the walk, but when it comes to trying to break something down, they're not Alan Shearer, they're not Gary Lineker, they're not Rio Ferdinand or Jose Mourinho or Carragher or Neville.
Do you know
they're
what?
Just not at that level. Michael Owen is just awful. Let's face it.
When someone like Glenn Hoddle speaks, you actually listen to him.
Yeah.
When someone like, well, he's got better, but initially Jamie Redknapp, you sort of think
you're a pretty face, mate. That's why you're on this show.
But like, obviously over time he's got better.
Yeah,
It's kind of like whenever I see Michael Owen, as a pundit, I'm just like,
right, I'll go and get a drink.
Yeah,
like, I'm not gonna sit.
Why?
Yeah.
But like, for me, I'd like to know. Obviously, supporting the team for my entire life, I'd like to get a further appreciation of how the club actually works and talk to him about Mike Ashley and his personal interactions with him, how the club runs, and why the fan base is so dedicated even after all the shit that they got to deal with.
Newcastle fans are on another level.
It's something that
they're up there with West Ham fans.
It's something that we won't understand because we're not from there. But it's something that I would like to know about. So.
Like if I was trying to relate that to Cheltenham Town fans.
Yeah.
Cheltenham Town fans. I am part of Cheltenham. I go to Cheltenham Town games irregularly, but there was one season where I went every week.
Yeah.
Near enough. they're just fucking idiots.
Yeah.
All the fans are just fucking idiots. They don't have a clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
The reason I don't go anymore is because I can't keep my mouth shut when I'm sat there trying to watch the game and they're talking shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, mate, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Sit down, shut the fuck up. Like, I like to think that I have a footballing brain.
Yeah.
I don't have the footballing body, but I do have a footballing brain. I was a decent coach. I coached to a decent level. I would like to think that if I was in that punditry position, maybe not on the main stage, if there was punditry for like lower league football, I think I'd be able to do an alright job at it.
I would feel like if I was put on a pedestal, I would have some reasonable arguments for why something was good,
or even some like analysis. If you had in front of you one clip, you can go, well, the reason why that's happened is because this X player is moving to that position.
Exactly.
But like the fans at Cheltenham are just idiots. But so let's move on to my dream podcast guest. Whilst you're talking there, I'm rattling loads of names around my head.
Yeah.
And I think I've settled on one. So
you had Gaza.
I had Gaza, who's a footballer, obviously, that I think was incredible. Maybe a bit before my time, arguably. Beckham would potentially be another one. The things that he went through throughout his career were pretty mental.
Yeah.
Another one that sprung to my mind, just because he's probably in my top 5 favourite players of all time, is Rio Ferdinand.
Right.
And the stuff he went through throughout his whole life has been pretty drastic, with drug allegations, his wife dying, cheating allegations, all sorts going on.
Making shit calls about Man United being back.
Yeah, true. Getting Ollie to sign the contract.
Ollie's at the wheel.
Back, baby. So, like, loads of footballers in there. I'd also then thought about some YouTube stars that I thought I'd want as guests. So, like, the True Geordie comes up, but he's very much going to be a topic of one of our future conversations. Mr. Beast is someone that I'd love to have on just because of how he's risen. Vic Star 123 is one because I genuinely want to be his mate.
And they're just absolute graft.
Yeah, and he just grafts like hell. The Sidemen in general, any of them I'd be interested in. But I've gone with one of my other loves, which is music.
Yeah.
And I've nailed it down to one guy who... Again, there's other people within music that I wanted to maybe do, like Eminem. Eminem would be a great one.
Yeah, that would be...
To get into his head would be pretty cool. Ed Sheeran, for the amount of people that he's worked with, would be one that I'd want to get into. But this guy... I
want to know who his favourite collab would be.
What, Ed Sheeran?
Yeah, just
he's bloody collab with everybody at this point.
Exactly.
So is there one that he hasn't got, maybe? Who knows?
Or, even better, who's the worst?
Who's the worst collab?
Bit dish, bit goss.
So, did you know that he nearly did a collab with Jay-Z?
Did he?
So it was this is going massively off topic.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran, Stormzy, Take Me Back to London.
Yeah.
Originally had Jay-Z on it.
Oh.
Stormzy said that it didn't work with Jay-Z on, so Ed Sheeran got rid of him. How mental is that? Anyway.
Yeah. So your dream podcast
guest is going to be Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl, lead singer of the Foo Fighters. Now, also drummer of Nirvana. You've got the whole Kurt Cobain scenario where Kurt Cobain passed away and Dave Grohl was like his best friend.
Yeah.
You know, Dave Grohl was then... Nirvana obviously finished. Dave Grohl had to then take himself and try and love music again when his best friend had died. He has gone through so much that I just think he's got so many stories to tell. But then, flipping that, it's not just the stories he's got to tell, it's the opinions he'd have on topics. So, like, for example, he stopped mid-set once. So he's doing a live performance. He stopped to get security to kick a bloke out because he pushed a woman or something. He was like, I want that twat out of my fucking gig. And he just stopped midway through the song. Went, right, stop, guys, stop. And he just went, I want him out. Yeah. And like they threw him out. And he was like, everyone. It just, the speech he then gave, because I've watched it, and he's like, you guys are like family.
Yeah.
I fucking love every single one of you, and we look after each other.
Yeah.
Yes, we play songs where you're rocking out and you might jump around and barge into people. That's fine. But if you see someone fall over, you pick them up. Because you are all here to enjoy the same thing. So let's enjoy it.
And that's a life lesson.
And that's a life lesson. But like, if he's got that view on that, what would he have had? What view would he had had on that Weinstein conversation we've had today?
Yeah.
he would have had so many different insights to go into.
I'd like to think that a lot of people would be disgusted by it.
No, but I just think that he would just come from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
And then
that's the benefit of people like him.
Yeah.
People who are creative, people who are at the top of whatever game they are in.
Mm-hmm.
They always have this capability to just flip something on their head and have a different approach. And then you sort of then think about it in a different way and just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and then like the standard questions I'd ask him would be like, who your music influences, who do you like to work with, what do you want to be remembered as a musician. But then I'd want to share this one moment with him as well where he was at Reading Festival. I'm stood in the pouring rain watching him and he just stops, gets an acoustic guitar out, starts playing these chords, which I'm like, I know these chords. I know the tune of this song. Like, where's this going? And it's kind of a slowed down version of something. And then he's talking about Kurt Cobain, talking about how it changed his life, how he's had to pick himself up and find a love for music again, blah, blah, blah. And he just starts playing My Hero on acoustic. It brought me to tears as a 18-year-old lad in a field drinking. It brought me to tears.
Blamed it on the rain.
Blamed it on the rain, but it was tears stream.
Yeah.
Coldplay style.
I sort of. Just on the back of that, I appreciate any form of anything that brings emotion because that's how you know something's good.
Well, yeah, we watched the end of Sex Education today, and my girlfriend was a bit like, I think they're going to get me here. And she does not get emotional. And she was
I cry at everything. Genuinely. Like an absolute...
I'm yes, good isn't it?
I, quite genuinely, and I don't really care about getting the piss taken out of me, but I was watching The Voice the other day, right? And there's this young Jamaican lad who come over with his dad, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't know where his mum was. Anyway, even before he started singing, I was like, oh my god, my mum a mess.
Exactly.
And then he sung, he was quality, turned around, everything was happy, and I just stopped eating my food, and I was just crying, and then mum sat there, she's crying, and dad's just sat in the corner with a glass of wine, just watching as well, and I just...
You wet lettuce.
But I was just like, mate, I don't know what it is, just something about...
Something about happy stuff gets me.
Yeah, I just can't.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Anything to do with animals, because just love animals.
So animals don't get me as much because I haven't grown up with
mainly
them.
dogs, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then anything that's really happy or an accomplishment feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then something that's really upsetting that I can relate to.
Yeah. So I've got something stuck in my head now because you said Jamaican accent.
Right.
And I watched at work. This was kind of on in the background, which you'll understand more than people watching will understand because you know what my job is.
Yeah.
Watching a film called Dolphin Kick, which is on Netflix, randomly got put on, and there's these two guys that clearly aren't Jamaican but are playing Jamaican characters.
Yeah.
They go through 15 different accents in this whole film. It was fucking awful.
Yeah.
But it was so comedically funny just because of how bad it was. Anyway, that would be my podcast guess. Those are all the reasons why. We're gonna call it game of the show.
Game of the show.
Game of the show. So this is our game of the show where we're gonna do little quizzes that we did last time. Where I was asking.
A catchy name, really.
Yeah, we will. Let us know in the comments if you've got anything.
If anyone's got any suggestions of a quiz segment title.
So this one, I'm going to call it First Question Go.
Ooh.
But it's flipped. It's not quite the KSI one that you're thinking of. So this is essentially Jack's going to fire a load of podcast guests at me. And if they were on our show, what would be the first question I'd ask them? So he's got a list of names, and I've got to kind of come with the first question that comes to my head. I haven't seen this list, so it could be anything.
For the viewers at home, I was going to say put someone on the screen, but it doesn't matter. I've basically got a list of 6 well-known people from various industries.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got 6 YouTubers.
Okay.
You know every single one. So
You sure?
yeah, 100%.
Okay.
If you don't, I'll be very surprised.
Okay.
So the YouTubers are from very different backgrounds.
Okay.
I guess.
So you're just
Like
going
a
to say
variety
them and
of-
I'll go for it.
Yeah, and then the celebrities are also from different areas as well. So
Okay.
there's a bit of a mix to go
Let's
on.
hope I know them all. Otherwise, I'm going to look very
You
stupid.
100% know them all. There's only one that I'm not sure. As in, I think I've definitely got his surname right. I think.
Well, instantly, if I don't know them,
Right.
I know what question I'll ask them.
Who are you? What's your name?
What's your name?
Right.
Who are you?
Okay. Are we going to put a time limit on it?
We're not going to put a time limit on it, but I will go with the first question that comes to my head.
Right. Okay. Are you ready?
No. What? Hold on. Let's get.
Right.
I'm ready.
I was going to start with like a simple one, but I've actually gone a bit weird with the start one. Anyway,
sake.
right. So, first one, Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Who is the best person that you've worked with? Because Will Ferrell is never in something on his own.
No.
There's always two. And he's worked with a combination of different actors. I'd like to know what the best person to work with was. Not necessarily for acting, but like who fucking had a good laugh. That would be my question.
First question. So, you've done well. He's got through it. I'll try and make it a bit more quick fire. So, talked about him already. Vicstar 1, 2, 3.
Mine would be, what was your motivation to... How did you keep yourself motivated when making so many videos? And can I be part of the next How to Minecraft?
Good. Ryan Giggs.
Ooh. What was the impact that Sir Alex Ferguson had on you as a young kid?
Strong. Shane Dawson.
Do you fuck cats? I did not touch my cat.
Just want to clarify, did you have any sort of sexual activity with your cat? Anyway, next, on a more normalised level, Barack Obama.
What do you think you've done for the black people in America? What would you say you've done for them going forward into the future? What can you see for black people?
Good. Tfue.
Did you know that Mr. Beast was outside your window? Or was it all an act?
Was it all a fake? Elvis Presley. See, I should have clarified whether dead or alive. But Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley. Okay. This one's weird because he's like, his granddad's bloody icon. What was it like to be a celebrity in a world where celebrities weren't really a thing yet?
Yeah, you are the first.
You were the first big celebrity. What impact did that have on you as a person? I mean, it had a lot. He ate loads of shit and drank loads of shit and smoked loads of shit and died potentially on a toilet.
Yeah, so
but yeah.
shit. A lot of shit.
A lot of shit.
Morgs.
Please teach me how to not give a crap what anyone else says.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't like his content. It's not something I enjoy. But him as a person is a fucking genius.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you put everyone's comments about what you're doing to the back of your mind?
Oh, I know.
But he knows exactly he is targeting younger audiences.
Yeah.
How does he put everyone's stupid hate out?
He's also got a reaction out of me.
Yeah.
Which is what he wants. So
yeah. And it's like, I want to know, how do you... Because mean comments... You guys have already seen it this podcast. Like, someone on Reddit said that I was fat. Yeah. And that's stuck with me for 4 days now. That's been 4 days.
Text me every day.
4 days, and that's still in my head.
Come on. Got back to quick fire.
I need to know how not to...
This is the surname I'm not sure about.
Okay, go on.
I'm like 99%.
Right.
Ed Woodward.
Ed Woodward?
Isn't that the
rugby coach? No,
the Man United chairman.
Oh, right.
Or whatever it is.
No, it's Clive Woodward, isn't it, the rugby guy?
Yeah.
Ed Woodward, what is your plan? Because at the moment it doesn't look like you got one. What is your plan for the future of United? Where are you going with this?
Fair. Mark Goldbridge.
Mark Goldbridge is the one that's on the
Man United YouTuber.
On the kickoff and stuff. Do you ever think that you get a bit too over hyped or over angry about things that you have no control over? You need to maybe chill out a bit. That's more advice I'd give him as opposed to a question. But why do you ever think that you're going too far? Is what I'd ask him.
Fair. We've got 4 left.
Okay.
Virgil van Dijk.
Did you think when you arrived in a shithole like Southampton that you'd one day be the best player in this league?
My question to him would be like, what is it like to be literally the best footballer at the moment?
Yeah, he is
just
on
because
another level.
he's unreal.
He seems like a nice bloke as well, to be fair.
Yeah, he does seem sound. Again, actually, no, I'll save him till last.
Oh, God.
Road to Shore.
How many chairs have you broken in your life?
And tellies.
And TVs.
Right, okay, 2 left. Gordon Ramsay.
Do you hate that your daughter has now become famous on TikTok and everyone's trying to flirt with her?
Didn't know that.
Not from personal experience, of course. I just saw it in the news.
Told him.
The friend told me. Jack told me.
Yeah, so, right,
Final one,
last
that's gotta be a big
one.
one.
We've talked about him already, and we've spoke about him in the future. True Geordie. What would be your first question for True Geordie?
What would be your... What is your... I know the exact question I'd ask him. How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, true.
Because that's his question he asks everyone else.
Okay, so what would your own question be?
My own question to him would probably be... Why do you think Lawrence makes such a good partner? Because I'm genuinely intrigued. Like, what made you go, he's the guy I need to do this with?
Why did you get on with him so well?
Why did you get on with him so well? Because you're two completely different people in many, many ways. There's a lot of similarities.
What we see, I guess.
What we see is two very different people.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why did you see... Because True Geordie worked with a lot of people before he started that podcast. Yeah. Why was it Lawrence, when he worked with him on whatever it was, why did he go, you're the one that's going to come and do this for me? There you go, that's my question. Are you
basically saying that he got through a lot of people? So is that like a, I've got to watch out? Trying to get rid of me already? It's only been 5.
So thanks for watching the podcast today. No, because I watched in that in the video I've been trying to get you to watch about the fall of True Geordie. Lawrence says at the beginning how the comments were all like, it's alright, Lawrence will be gone by episode 15 and stuff like that. He's like, I'm still here, you fuckers.
To be fair, when it comes to like doing this, my initial thought was I would probably look at Lawrence and think that's the kind of way I would want to play it.
But then I think that I'm nothing like Brian in many ways. I'm not necessarily... I've got more YouTube brain than you've got, but I would say you've got so much more stuff to kind of lead with than Lawrence maybe does. Lawrence very much plays off what topics they've just decided on, whereas you're more likely going to bring something to the table.
But I very much prefer to comment and give my view rather than inform in a sense. Yeah. So for example, you could give me something that I've never heard about, or you could give me something that I don't know a lot about, and yet I would still give my view on it.
Yeah, and I think that essentially happens quite a lot during this podcast. Like, you didn't necessarily know masses about Sony missing E3. No, you didn't know about like the crunch, for example.
You could still think
you're able to comment on it.
But no, I think like from when I watch Lawrence, it's always about trying to find the next joke, and that's kind of what happens in my head. I'm just like, there's a joke somewhere.
Whereas I'm trying to find the next segue, link between two different parts.
Anyway, that is this week's quiz.
That is this week's quiz and this week's podcast.
To be fair, some decent answers.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll get better at that quiz as we go along.
Maybe people can give their questions.
Yeah, I want to do one where you do like where we maybe do a this or that sort of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, true. What I was going to say was like people comment what their question to the guests.
Oh right, yeah, I'm with you. So yeah, let us know. Like all of those that we've just done.
What would you ask the people, basically?
What would you ask Barack Obama? We want to know. Maybe when you're watching, I mean, you'll have to kind of go back again. Should have said this beforehand. Absolutely messed it up. This is why you don't let Jack host the game show.
What we could have done is been like, right, okay, you've got to comment whilst we're doing it.
Whilst we do it. Yeah, we'll do that next time.
We'll do that. If we ever live stream, that could be like...
That'd be sick.
We could have people...
And they could then... ask us stuff.
Because also, we could do like quiz shows where people go against you.
Yeah, that'd be
And
cool.
if
On Discord or something.
yeah,
If I can ever work out how to do that.
yeah. Anyway.
But yeah, I was
That's for another time.
talking to Jordan,
Yeah.
and I'm mentioning his name. I know we probably could just move on from this and finish off the podcast and go home.
Podcast.
But I mention it because him and the other guy that watches us on a regular basis are having a competition with how many times they can get mentioned in the podcast. So
Right.
Jordan is. I was talking to him
is
about
Jordan winning.
Jordan's now Jordan.
Oh, right.
So
That's very Jordan from Jordan.
that is very Jordan
Strong.
from Jordan. So what he was saying to me is maybe you could make. To be fair, it might have actually been Stowe that mentioned this. One of them said to me, you can make like episode 50 being like a special live streamed one.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's all on the horizon, potentially something we could do.
Well, I mean, like we said before, we have got ideas to do stuff, but it's just about actually talking about it because you've come up with a game show.
Yeah.
After I came up with the other idea that I can't even think what it was, and yet we've implemented that first.
We've implemented the game
just
show
because
first. What was the other thing? We'll talk about it after. Anyway, thanks for watching the podcast, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure you like it. Comment down below with everything we've asked for you. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're now over 100 subscribers, so let's push that as far as we possibly can. If you've watched all of this, go into the comments now and put the word
steeplechase.
Steeplechase. What? Put steeplechase in the comments, and we'll know that you watched the whole thing.
Respect.
And we've got mad respects for you. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Farewell, my friends.
Yes, it's back.
Sick. Oh, absolutely.
I nearly smashed my foot on that. Oh, I got sent to mid at the weekend.
Monday.
I got work. No, Tuesday.